Welcome, everybody. Thank you for showing up here. This is week 5 of Beyond the Matrix. Man, that music kind of gets you. I'm pretty excited about making those tracks each week. Thank you for steering them. If you are not into electronica, I'll try and add some different flavors as we move along. But this week, we're going to get real. You've been with me for 4 weeks now. 4 weeks digging into who you are, what you value, understanding the patterns, figuring out what triggers you and why you do the things you do. That's good work. Seriously. Most people, they never even start that process. But here's the thing, and I need you to hear this. Philosophy without practice is just mental masturbation. You can know all about yourself. You can map out all your values on a beautiful journal page. You can understand your trauma responses and your attachment style and all that good stuff. But if nothing changes in your actual day-to-day life, then you're not doing anything different. Then what's the point of that? What's the point of doing all the work? I spent years in my early sobriety just consuming information, reading every self-help book I could find, listening to every podcast, going to every meeting. And yeah, some of that helped. But real transformation didn't happen until I actually started doing the thing. So we spent 4 weeks building up your philosophical foundation, getting clear on who you are and who you want to be. Now we shift from knowing into doing. So I hope all of you had time to go through the guidebook this week. Tried to keep it not as big as last week's, but there's depth to this stuff. Typically in each guidebook, in each section, there will be more if you want to dive into more of that topic. I try to add some books, recommended reading if you really want to, get deep on that. But next we're going to cover what nobody told me growing up. Yeah, we'll get there. So your body has built-in hardware for managing stress, like actual biological mechanisms that are designed to reset your nervous system, clear your head, get you back to baseline when life gets overwhelming. That's what the guidebook was talking about. I went 30 plus years not knowing any of this stuff. Wild, right? I thought stress management was, thinking positive, doing some breathing exercises, or maybe just going for a jog. And maybe those things help. But they're not the same as actually understanding how your nervous system works and knowing how to manually reset it when you need to. Your body has these incredible tools already installed. You just need to know where the buttons are and how to press them. And that's what this week's all about. That's what we're doing right now. I'm going to show you the 3 reset buttons I use just about daily, the 3 things that have completely changed how I handle stress, make decisions, and show up for my business and my family. Cold exposure, heat therapy, and meditation. Simple, right? Easy? No. Effective? Absolutely. Man, that's such a great picture. Say this again because it's important. You can read every book on personal development. You can take every course. You can have all the knowledge in the world about how to be better, stronger, and more resilient, but it won't matter one bit if you don't actually do something different. Knowledge that doesn't change your behavior is just entertainment. It's like watching a cooking show, but never turn on your stove. Fun to watch, but you're still eating cereal for dinner. That was totally me. So what I'm about to share with you is in theory. It's not something I read in a book and thought sounded cool. This is what I actually do, like last night. What worked for me, what keeps me sane while running a business, raising a 7-year-old, maintaining a 10-acre homestead, and staying sober for 14 years now. These aren't just ideas, they're practices, daily practices that have literally saved me from myself more times than I can count. Just this week. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I went from someone who couldn't handle a cold raindrop to someone who jumps in frozen lakes on purpose. So let's go back 10 years. 10 years ago, I genuinely hated being cold. And I don't mean like, oh, I prefer warm weather kind of hate. I mean like full on losing my composure when a cold raindrop hits my neck. I would literally yell at the sky. It would have a negative effect and ruin my mood, how my day was going. My wife would laugh at me. My friends would make fun of me. But like I felt like I couldn't help it. Cold made me angry. It made that I felt, awful. That one raindrop just like gets in there. It just hits you. I was that guy who would run from the car to the building in winter when there was like, 30 seconds of cold rain that might kill me, literally, is what I thought. That guy who took the longest, hottest showers because, I didn't want to get out. So when I first heard about Wim Hof, this crazy Dutch guy who runs up mountains in his shorts and swims in frozen lakes, my first thought was, this dude has lost his damn mind. Second thought was, that's no way that I'm going to be doing that. I can barely handle rain. But something kept pulling me back into his work. Maybe it was the science backing it up. Maybe it was seeing other regular people doing it and talking about the benefits. Maybe it was just curiosity about what would happen if I pushed myself beyond my comfort zone. Whatever it was, I didn't shake. And I saw the Iceman. So I started researching, watching his videos, reading about the science of cold exposure. And here's what I learned. Wim Hof isn't just some adrenaline junkie doing crazy stuff for attention. The guy's been studied by scientists. His methods have been tested in clinical settings. There's real measurable data about what happens in your body when you expose yourself to cold in a controlled way. Your immune system gets stronger, inflammation drops, mental clarity improves, your ability to handle stress in other areas of life increase dramatically. It's called homeostasis. The idea that some small amount of stress can make you hormesis. Let me get that word right. It's called hormesis. The idea that small amounts of stress can make you stronger. Like lifting weights, they break down the muscles so it can rebuild itself stronger. Cold exposes stresses in your system in a way that makes it even more resilient. But knowing it all didn't make me any less scared to try it. Out.
Because of a powerless situation of grief and emotion, now I got the power. And now I want to take away and show scientifically that depression and all the diseases, almost all the diseases, we are able to learn to prevent them from developing inside the body because we are able to have a connection direct inside which goes far deeper than ever thought. Boom! I'm gonna show the world that everybody is able, instead of being powerless, to have power over his own system.
We just stayed in that freezing cold water for 1 minute. And the craziest part is, I feel warm on the inside. It must be the adrenaline or something, but I finally get it. By standing in there and letting the adrenaline rush over you, you don't feel the cold. I could stand out here for a while, but I'm not going to because I might die. But it's like sand in it. You just feel like you're at the beach.
Exactly, that's the mind.
Highly recommend going and checking out this whole documentary. Once I saw that stuff, I was like, what? And I haven't met Wim Hof, but my close friend who I work out with, he actually took some classes with him. But few years ago, a friend of mine got a cold plunge tub. And one day when I was over at his house, he said, hey man, you want to try it? And I was like, no, absolutely not. That sounds horrible. But then I also thought, when am I going to get another chance like this? So what am I really afraid of? So I did it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Those first 30 seconds were brutal. My body completely freaked out. Every nerve ending screaming at me to get out. My breathing went haywire. My brain was like, get out now. Like literally my limbs are like trying to like get an exit. But I stayed in. I made it probably about 30 seconds. That's like all that I can handle. But then something crazy happened. When I got out, this massive rush hit me. Dopamine, adrenaline, all these natural chemicals flooding into my system. I felt more alert, more alive, more present than I had in months. And here's the really wild part. Along with that rush, there was a like simultaneous calm. Like my nervous system had been reset to factory settings. And remember, I've been sober for 14 years at this point. I know what it feels like to chase a high. I know what it feels like to need something external to make me feel okay. This was completely different. This rush wasn't followed by a crash. It wasn't something I was going to regret later. It was healthy. It was good for me. And it kept me from getting too comfortable in my temperature controlled terrarium life. After 14 years of sobriety, I finally found a way to feel alive without destroying myself in the process. And so I was hooked. Oh, that was the side. This was 2 nights ago. We have a sauna. We bought a sauna during the pandemic because we were isolated and it was dark and winter. And so we all pitched in and got a 2-person sauna. It's great. Gets up to about 140. And then I was able to get this this cold plunge. Got it from Costco, actually. Really good deal. And it blows up kind of like a stand-up paddleboard. And it's cold. Right now it's late October in the Northwest. It's getting down into like 40, 50s. And that water was cold that night, two nights ago. And so let me talk about what's really happening in the body during the cold exposure. You guys got to read about this in the guidebook, but my experience, when you hit cold water, your body releases norepinephrine, nature's focus drug. It's what makes you instantly present. You can't be thinking about your to-do list or when you're in 40-degree water. You just can't. You're just there. When I first get in, I have to completely focus on my breathing. What you don't want to do is stop breathing. You know that that's really bad. Your body needs oxygen and you need to be able to breathe through that initial exposure into cold. Then you get dopamine, which is your motivation and reward chemical. And then there's adrenaline mixed into that. And that gives you this energy boost. But unlike drugs or alcohol, these chemicals are providing a service. They're not artificially flooding your system. They're your body's natural response to a challenge. And when the challenge is over, everything returns to baseline, but a better baseline than before. For someone in recovery, finding a healthy way to feel that rush again, that's great. It was fun. But I wasn't chasing to escape anything. I was choosing to feel uncomfortable on purpose because I knew it would make me stronger. There's massive difference between those two highs. Wasn't about being tough. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about feeling alive again in a way that didn't destroy me or anyone around me. And that's what got me. That's what made me want to keep doing. But still had a problem. Even though I wanted to keep doing cold exposure, there was this fear every time I approached the water, right? This voice in my head saying, this is going to overtake you. You can't handle this. It's too much, right? That's when I learned, I actually took one of Wim Hof's online courses. and learned this mental technique that changed everything. Like he does breathing, which is super important, but we're not going to talk about that here. But he taught me to visualize my inner core, like this column running down my body, right? It goes through my torso, down in your vital organs, the center of your being. And he taught me to mentally fortify it, picture it becoming hardened, protected, solid. And then recognize that your extremities, your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, they can take care of themselves. They're designed for this. They can get really cold, before frostbite kicks in, but they can handle it. So before I enter cold water now, I do this. Clap my hands together and visualize my core becoming this fortress. Everything essential is protected. Everything else can do its job. And the wild part, it worked. I can walk into a cold shower now. The fear of being overtaken by the cold, you literally, I like have this like, oh my God, I'm gonna die feeling in the middle of your like gut when you're approaching these things, and it was gone. I knew my center was solid, right? Just like that kid who jumped in that frozen, pond. He's like, oh my gosh, look, I'm okay. He's the center of his inside was warm. His arms, that was another story. And I learned to know that I wasn't going to lose myself to this. Sure, my hands can get numb. You can get involuntary shakes, and your feet and hands and fingers might ache, but you're okay because the core is strong. So once I got that mental trick down, cold exposure became much, much more manageable. I went from like scared and afraid to do it to actually now like looking forward to it. It still sucks, but it's a good suck. Talk about the heat, because heat is a whole different animal. My first real heat experience was in a Native American sweat lodge. This must have been 12 years ago. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't a fancy sauna. Traditional sweat lodges they were using lava rocks and this like sweaty, dripping tent, and they had a bunch of ceremony around it. And the way that it works is that when everybody comes in, they sit in a circle around this small enclosed place, and they have these red hot rocks in the middle where the fire pit is, and then they pour water over them, and steam fills the space, and you're in there for like a session, like 15, sometimes longer, maybe 30 minutes, depends on the ceremony. Now, here's the thing about sweat lodges that's different from most saunas. There's social pressure to stay. To leave, which I did want to leave, it was hot. You literally have to ask everyone else in the sweat lodge. You have to ask them to get out of the sweat lodge to let you out. And there's only, you come in one direction, you leave in one direction. So you would literally have to like be like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Could everybody leave so I could get out? You have to disrupt the whole ceremony. So that's some pretty good social pressure. Most people don't want to do that because, that's embarrassing, or, that can be an uncomfortable situation. And so you just push your way through it, which is great because it's only sensation. Your body is not going to die. It feels really uncomfortable. There's some tricks there. If you put your face down on the ground, that is going to be the coolest place inside of that sweat lodge. So that's where you can get some cool air into your mouth and in your breath. I basically sat like that, like in a baby's fetus for 2 rounds, just, sweating it out. Third one, that was my limit, and that was totally okay. I was proud of myself for making it through those 2. But the experience taught me something important. You can't just bail when things get hard. You have to sit with discomfort. and you have to let it work on you, because heat does something cold doesn't. Cold shocks your system. Heat slowly bakes out what's stuck inside. And in sweat lodges, there's crazy stuff that happens, and a lot of stuff comes out, which is why they have, people holding space for that. Great. So during the pandemic, we got a sauna, partly because we were stuck at home, like I said, but we also needed vitamin D and warmth. So because of that, we learned that heat is uncomfortable in ways that forces growth. It makes you sweat. It flushes toxins. But more than that, it brings stuff to the surface. Emotions you've been avoiding, patterns you've been ignoring, stress you've been carrying without even realizing. I went to a men's workshop once and experienced the hottest sauna of my life. There was 6 of us in there. It was a wood fire that was turned on to incredible heat, incredible temperature to start with. And I had to sit on the ledge next to the fire in the back. I was like wrapped up with my knees and my arms with this massively hot wood burning stove next to me. And it was literally so hot. I didn't know this till later, but my back burned, got a burn mark from leaning up against the wall. I also was in charge of ladling water onto the stove, thus making it hotter. The ladle was so hot, I couldn't even touch it. And I was literally whimpering when I was pouring the water on the sauna, because it just got incredibly hot. Don't recommend like that intensity, but taught me something about my limits. Heat is a mental trip all on its own. You have to learn to sit with what you've been avoiding. Can't run from it. Can't distract yourself. It's just you and whatever's hiding under the surface. And when you come out the other side, you're lighter. You're cleaner. Like something that was stuck had been shaken loose. That's the power of heat. It's not just a physical detox. It's emotional and mental too. Viking. Oh, didn't get the Viking. There we go. Viking mode. So now let me tell you a little bit about lake plunges, because that's where cold exposure gets real. Every winter, me and the guys, we head out and jump into our local Whatcom Lake. We jump in it on purpose when it's freezing outside. A couple times there was snow on the ground last year. And lake plunging in October in the Northern Hemisphere, it's pretty cold. December, January, it gets a special kind of awful. The air is cold, water is colder, and there's usually wind, and your brain is screaming at you the entire walk down. So I learned not to think about it. I just get into what I call Viking mode. So I show up, and the whole time driving there, I refuse to think about what I'm about to do, right? I'm either watching podcasts or something to distract myself, because I'm not wanting to dwell on what I'm about to do. And then we walk down to the beach. I wear this towel robe thing, and so I cast that off at the beach, and then I just start grunting like a Viking, seriously, and walk out. Luckily, we have a dock, so we can jump off of it and not wade into it. But get down to the end of the dock, and don't even think, don't even stop, just jump. No hesitation, no second guessing, just go. And then the shock hits. Your body goes into panic mode. You will lose your breath if you're not paying attention. Every instinct is telling you to get out of the water. But here's the secret: just breathe, right? Don't hold your breath. Don't suck it in and hold it, because that will make it worse. Just keep breathing in and out, in and out. I look very silly doing it. My wife makes fun of me, but it's like what you'll see me doing when I get in. But if you can keep breathing through that initial shock, you're going to survive. You're going to make it. And after about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, your body changes and starts to adapt. It remembers, oh, I can do this. And then it gets a little easier. Not easy, but manageable. And then you can just be in the cold, in the moment, present with what is. I like to look around because my mind just goes like blank, right? Like it doesn't know what is going on. But I'll tend to like gaze at my surroundings and be like, lights, bird, tree, right? Just to like give my brain something to focus on instead of trying to calculate time, because that's not going to help you. All right. Now let me tell you why all this matters, just beyond going some interesting new practice. So last week I had this massive creative sprint. I was building something new for my business. Ideas were just bursting out of my head. I was in that zone where everything feels possible and exciting. And I was waking up at 4:30 every morning. Just brain turns on. Oh, I gotta go build. But my brain ended up getting stuck in fifth gear. Day 3, I was still getting up at 4:30. Day 4, and then day 5, I'm like still turning on at 4:30 in the morning. I could feel it. I couldn't downshift. I couldn't slow down. I couldn't stop. At first, I thought I was just like in this creative high, the excitement of building something new, but underneath that excitement was something else. I was needing to take naps in the afternoon because I was just like hitting walls early evening, late afternoon. And my life was not in balance for sure. I was like just focused on work, come in, do family stuff, but I really wasn't present. I realized once I went into the cold plunge, right? Which I hadn't done last week. And so after this 5-day, sprint, I was like, all right, sauna, boom, and then cold plunge. And that's where it like kicked the shifter out of fifth gear. And I felt it. And at first, and then I realized that there was emotions underneath this need to build and work. There was fear of failure, this belief that I had to succeed no matter what, that my worth was tied to whatever this thing was that I was working on, that if I couldn't pull it off, that I was worthless. This like classic spiral, one that I've been down before. But because I was in that fifth gear creative mode, I couldn't even see it. I was all mixed up. The excitement, fear, fight or flight response. My nervous system couldn't tell the difference between this is fun and challenging and exciting to this is a threat to my survival. And, I'm not in balance, and my family's starting to feel that, right? So everything else in my life started falling out of balance, like I said, and I was burning the candle at both ends, telling myself that it was necessary, but it wasn't necessary. It was getting into being destructive. And if I kept going, I would have burnt out completely. I would have probably got sick, probably taken a couple days to recover. So, did my nervous system and brought me back to reality. And suddenly I could feel those feelings underneath again and realize like, oh, the way I'm doing things is not helpful. It's not helping my business. It's not helping my family. And thanks to the cold, it gave me that perspective. It forced me to be present and to realize what is instead of what I was afraid of. And after I got out of that cold plunge, my body warmed back up. I could see those patterns that I had fallen into and made a plan to then make more space in my work week, prioritize self-care, get back into sauna, cold plunge, meditation every day. And that's what these practices do. They don't just make you physically healthier. They give you mental and emotional tools to catch yourself before you spiral. Cold plunge, it didn't solve all my problems, but it gave me enough space to see them clearly and respond instead of react. That's valuable. Has reset buttons. Built-in tools for managing your nervous system, for clearing your head, for getting back to baseline when life gets overwhelming, cold exposure, heat therapy, breath work. These aren't wellness trends. They're not luxury spa treatments. They're practical, accessible tools that anybody can use. You don't need that fancy cold plunge tub. You can start with your shower. Just 10 seconds of cold at the end of your shower is a great place to start. And then you can build from there. You don't need a sauna membership. You can use hot baths, hot tub, steam rooms, or save up for that basic home sauna. Is totally worth it. Your health is worth it for that. And you don't need a meditation retreat, even though one of those would be nice. You can do breath work in your own living room. And there's some apps that I recommended in the guidebook to help with that. The hardware is already installed in our body. The question is, are you going to learn to use it? Because I spent 30 plus years not even knowing about these tools. And looking back, I wish I had somebody that told me sooner, because I wish I had somebody say, hey, your body can handle more than you think. And if you push it in the right ways, it will make you stronger. Nobody taught me this, not in school, not at home, not in my party days, or even in my early sobriety. But now I know, and now you know. So what are you going to do with that information? Because here's the truth. Letters. Before you build your business, before you plan your future, before you surround yourself with the right people, you need these foundational tools. You need to know how to manage your nervous system, how to reset when you get stuck, how to stay present when life gets overwhelming, because all the strategy and planning in the world won't help if you're constantly burned out, anxious, or operating from a place of fear. I know this one well. These practices, the cold, hot, and the meditation, they give you the ability to stay regulated, to downshift when you need to handle stress without it handling you. That's why week 5 is the perfect time for this. We've done some internal work. We built the philosophical foundations. Now we're learning the practical tools to support them. This is now on you. I can't make you jump in cold water. I can't make you sit in a sauna. I can't make you meditate. But I can tell you that these practices have changed my life. They've kept me sober. They made me a better father, better husband, better entrepreneur. They've given me the tools to handle challenges that used to break me. And now they're available to you right now, today, this week. So take responsibility, press those buttons, see what happens when you stop being a victim of your nervous system and start running the show. You got the knowledge now. Question is, what are you going to do about it? That's what week 5 is all about. So let's get to work.